So what is the Enneagram anyway? Even if you know, you may not know it like this. My name is Callie Wellborn, and I am here on this planet in this moment to help you discover that you are purposely created and implicitly loved. And there is nothing that you can do about it. You were created on purpose, with purpose, for a purpose. And this entire cosmos is not whole or complete or balanced without you. I have found no better way to help share this truth, which is my purpose, than the Enneagram. I was first introduced to the Enneagram in 2010, and since then I have personally experienced the transformational power of integrating Enneagram wisdom into the practice of my daily life, which is why I am so excited to share it with you. Because you already have the ability to experience balance and peace and transformation. You already have the ability to live freely as your authentic self, as your vital, true, effortless self, which is exactly what this world needs to make us all whole, the essence of you. So in the next few minutes, I'm excited to share what I even mean by essence. I'm also excited to explain how your Enneagram type is actually who you are not. And I'm excited to prove to you that you see the world and navigate life looking through a particular lens that you're probably not even aware of. Don't believe me? Check it out. You've been looking through a lens this whole entire time. Maybe you weren't aware. So we'll talk about what this little reveal and sunflowers and space exploration, what all of that has to do with the Enneagram and your Enneagram type in just a few moments. It's some good stuff, so you don't want to miss it. So what does essence even mean? What I mean when I say essence is who you are, who you can never not be, your inmost being. Who you were before you ever did anything right, before you ever did anything wrong, the you that can never be minimized or diminished or eradicated or even offended, which means, yes, when you are offended, that's your personality. That's not even the essence of you. So you may think, well, if this is who I am, well, then where did that go? My friend, life has gotten a hold of you, as it does to all of us. It starts the moment you arrive in this world. Somewhere along the way, when you were very young, before you could even talk, you started to believe in the illusion of separateness. We all do. This illusion makes you believe that you're separated from your essence, separated from who you are, separated from what makes you who you are, that you're separated from the infinite love that infinitely loves you, as James Finley so beautifully describes it. That you're separated from me, that you're separated from all people, that we're all these separate beings, all of which can never be. It is indeed an illusion, the illusion of separateness. Henry Newman says, one of the tragedies of our life is that we keep forgetting who we are. So, if you start to believe that you're separated from all that makes you who you truly are, what do you think happens? Yeah! You freak out. We all do, because subconsciously you fear that you will cease to exist. So what do? You start efforting with all your might, efforting and manufacturing these qualities that you know deep down you don't exist without. And you don't stop, right? This is a lifelong thing, which is why you're exhausted. And even though you put so much effort to create for yourself what you believe you've been separated from, the result is still a poor mimic of your essential self. This poor mimic is your personality. So the best way I can describe the difference between personality and essence is this experience that I had not very long ago when I was just driving home with my son one afternoon. The sun was setting, I happened to look up in the sky, and I ended up doing like this triple take because I thought I saw two birds flying together. And what I realized on that triple take was that one was a bird and one was a plane. And the plane was just far enough away and the bird was close enough and they were flying in the same direction and they were at the same level in the sky that really for a moment I thought I was seeing two birds. And out loud I actually said, wow, well there's a mimic for you. I don't know about you, but I have this fascination with birds. I just think they're amazing. I just love watching them be birds, right? They can just take off from wherever and fly wherever and twirl around. And sometimes they don't even have to flap their wings. They just soar. I can just sit there and watch them. And I do, right? I even have a bird on my necklace. But what's great is that when I'm watching these birds, they're not sitting there going, ooh, she's looking at me. Look at me being my bird self. Aren't I amazing? Oh, I better do like this really cool trick so she thinks I'm great. No, right? Birds are just being birds. When I'm sitting there watching that hummingbird, they're just having a meal. But I am amazed by that being just being exactly who they are, right? I think it's the same thing with us. That when we are living in and from our essence as our authentic self, that other people watch in amazement. We're not trying to amaze them. They're just in awe of us being who we are created to be. And then there's the plane, right? And don't get me wrong, I am so thankful for what planes do for us. But a plane will never be a bird. No matter how much efforting in manufacturing, and there's a ton, and money, and people, and effort, and hours that go into creating a structure that's trying to be like something else. It's trying to be like this bird. And as helpful as they can be, it will never be like that bird. It will never be able to just take off whenever and wherever it wants to, and land whenever and wherever it wants to. It needs all of these people and all of these codes and all of this technology and all of these runways, all of this space. And still, it will never have the essence of that bird, right? So this metaphor is so helpful for me, of that bird and the freedom of that bird being like our essence, and the manufacturing and the efforting of these heavy, clunky planes being like our personality, trying to effort and force those qualities that we think that we're separated from, that we're never separated from. So I love the author Anne Lamott, and in one of her books she writes, "My friend said that when you first meet him, you're really meeting his bodyguard." And I think that's another beautiful metaphor for our personality. Your personality is like that bodyguard, right? What you depend on to protect you. And you've been doing this since before you could even talk, which is why you don't remember that there was a time when your personality wasn't you, or when you didn't think your personality was you. You've depended on it, on this armor of protection, on this bodyguard, as an intelligent response to survive the environment you grew up in, to survive and thrive even now. And it works so well for so long until it doesn't. Have you ever been there? Are you there right now, wondering why what has always worked for you simply isn't working anymore? Like that suit of armor, right? It works really well for a long time to protect you. But can you imagine literally wearing a suit of armor your whole entire life? How many decades in until you're like, wow, this is really heavy. This is really weighing me down, right? How long until you realize the limitations and how constrictive it is, especially if you've been wearing that same armor since you were a child, how tight that gets, right? Ultimately, it becomes the barrier that prevents you from connecting with your deepest desires, from those things that you want the most, the things you need the most. In short, your armor, your bodyguard, your personality, it serves a valuable purpose. But believing that your personality is you and that it's the only way that you will survive, that's no longer serving you. The Enneagram highlights what that armor looks like for you and for each of us. That's your Enneagram type. The Enneagram also provides direction on how you can live more fully and freely from your essence, more of the time, more like that bird, if you choose to want to live freely instead of restricted and weighed down by ego. The Enneagram doesn't put you in a box. The Enneagram makes you aware you're already in a box of your own making, and you can choose to get out of it if you want. The Enneagram shows you who you are not, that your personality is not your identity. And the Enneagram is an effective tool that helps you do just that. The Enneagram invites you to release this tight grip on misidentifying yourself with your personality. You may be thinking, but if I let go of that, then what? That's scary, right? If this is who I've believed myself to be for so long, really my entire life, and I'm not, well then who the hell am I, right? You may fear that you'll fall apart or that you'll be completely lost and without direction. Spoiler alert! When you enter into the fear of this unknown space is exactly where you're open enough to discover who you are. You get to discover that you will not cease to exist, and you get to learn that you don't have to reinvent yourself. You simply get to come home to your true self. And when you're home in yourself, you experience the wholeness that you already are. You get to experience generative ease and flow instead of depleting, efforting, and manufacturing that you've been doing your whole life. From this place of ultimate belonging, you get to be you. And you get to authentically contribute what can only come from you, which is what the world needs most, is you, the real, true, authentic you. And when you share your true self, it creates this space to receive and connect with the realness and the gifts of those around you from their real self as well. There's this beautiful reciprocity that happens that just makes life come alive. Simply put, the Enneagram is a modality of awareness that expands your capacity to tap into reality's fullness. Ed Young writes in his book, An Immense World, every animal can only tap into a small fraction of reality's fullness. Each is enclosed within its own unique sensory bubble, perceiving but a tiny sliver of an immense world. So the Enneagram is a system, a tool, a map that helps you to understand that you live in a bespoke sliver of reality. We all do. And you see and experience the world through one of 9 different lenses. Each lens, each bespoke sliver is vitally important and absolutely necessary and limited, right? But the great news is that you have access to all of these lenses within yourself. They're all already a part of you and through connection with those around you because we are interdependent beings. So including and integrating and incorporating each of these different ways of seeing is what opens you to the diversity of perspective. This is where you get to see and experience the fullness of reality, the juicy stuff. This is where you get to experience the balance and the wholeness that is already available to you. The problem is that most of us are walking around without a clue that one, we even have this particular lens. Remember the lens reveal earlier, right? And two, we don't have a clue of just how differently others see and experience the world. We may know it here, but we may not really understand it. So I'm going to give you a few examples of this. How about this? Are you familiar with this flower? Do you know what this flower is? It's actually a sunflower. You may be screaming at your screen right now saying, no, it's not. Obviously, sunflowers are yellow with a dark brown or black center. But this is the way that bees see sunflowers. And the reason is because they have expanded vision, right? They're actually able to see the UV light that is on the spectrum of light that humans can't see. So is the way the bee is seeing this flower the right way? Or is the way we humans see a sunflower the right way? That's kind of the problem, right? We're walking through the world, talking to bees, if you will, trying to convince them, no, what you're seeing and what you're experiencing is totally wrong. My experience of it is the right experience, and you need to see it my way, right? But knowing that the way the bee sees it isn't wrong and the way we see it isn't wrong, we can open ourselves up to that expanded vision, to that diversity of perspective going, oh, wow, it can be both, right? What about, I don't know if you are, but I cannot get enough of the images from the Webb telescope. So this image right here is actually from the Hubble telescope, which came around a few decades before the Webb telescope. And even the images we were able to capture with the Hubble telescope absolutely blows my mind that we can be standing here on this Earth and send things out into space, out into the cosmos, that are able to capture these images that we could never see from our limited perspective standing right here on Earth, right? And these images were amazing because from the Hubble telescope, they were capturing images with UV light. Again, a spectrum on the light scale that we can't see as humans. And so it just gave us this whole entire different experience and perspective of what exists out there. But then here comes the Webb telescope, right? And so the Webb telescope, here's an image from the Webb telescope of the exact same thing that the Hubble telescope took a picture of. Wow. Right? Look at that detail. Look at, even with expanded vision, with that UV light, still what we were missing, all of the detail and the specificity and the beauty that we were missing. Because the Webb telescope actually uses infrared light, so it layers on infrared light as well, again, expanding our vision so that we can learn more, see more, understand more. That's what this diversity of perspective is all about. Seeing more, understanding more, embracing, integrating, and incorporating the fullness of reality. Okay, so you might be saying, so what? Who cares? Why are we even talking about this? Well, because compassionate awareness can change the world. It changes us individually, it changes the way we interact with each other, and it has the power to change the world. And practicing Enneagram wisdom in your daily life generates compassionate awareness. First of all, it enhances communication. I don't know if you've ever spoken with anybody else who has studied the Enneagram at all, but just having that base foundational language already starts you off in a different place, right? So that foundational language really helps to enhance communication. And where there's enhanced communication, connections are deepened. Think about it. When you're trying to get to know somebody, you're asking them questions. There's a dialogue. That communication is enhanced, and that's what helps create a deeper connection between the two of you. So the Enneagram also deepens connection for you with yourself and deepens connection for you with others. And when that connection is deepened, then that's the space where we can really cultivate compassion. When you can communicate with yourself and receive communication from yourself and connect more deeply with yourself is when you can start to have compassion for yourself. And when you can have compassion for yourself is when you can start to extend and offer compassion to those around you. In The Wisdom of the Enneagram, the book, The Wisdom of the Enneagram by Don Rizzo and Russ Hudson, they say to love yourself enough to know yourself as you really are. And I just think that is a beautiful definition of self-compassion that leads to even greater compassion that can be extended outwards. And once you are starting to have compassion with yourself and with other people, that's what really generates environments of belonging, right? Saying, you belong, and I belong, and so does everybody. We all belong. And not only do you belong, you're absolutely necessary for this whole thing. You're necessary. And I think in those environments of belonging, that's where healing can really be supported, right? When I know that I belong, when I can have compassion and know that I belong, that's when that healing can start, even of your deepest wounds. Even of that original soul wound that made you believe in the false illusion of separateness in the first place. That can be healed. And when that healing takes place, I think that's where that freedom comes, right? That freedom where we're free to choose. You're free to choose how you want to respond and engage with life. You don't have to be stuck in this autopilot engagement, this robotic, armored engagement with life. You are free, and you're free to choose how you want to be in this world and how you want to experience life. And when you're living in and from that freedom and choosing, that's where that ease and that peace comes from. Oh, it feels so good. And when we're in the middle, when you're in the middle of that ease and that peace, instead of all the efforting and manufacturing and having to do these things that you think you have to do that you really don't have to do, that's when you get to come home to yourself. That's where that homecoming happens, where you get to live in and from the essence of your true self. As Maria Popova says, all transformations are homecomings. So you just get to transform into the you that you've always been. You just get to remember and come home to yourself. My hope is that you and every single person, every relationship, every family, every workspace, every community, every country, really the whole entire world gets to experience connection and compassion and belonging and healing and freedom and ease and peace and homecoming. This is why Undercurrent Enneagram exists. And it's a journey, not a destination. So let's journey together. Schedule your free discovery call so I can learn more about you. Learn more about where you are on your journey and how I can support you on this ongoing journey home to the freedom of your true self. I am sending gratitude for you exactly as you are right in this moment, because right now you are already whole, and you make me whole, and you make all of this whole. I can't wait to connect with you so that you can start experiencing the balance and the wholeness and the freedom that's already available to you.